Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Saturday. It's Daryl here. It's 10 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. I wasn't planning on making this video, but once again, it's something I want to talk about. A lot of times we see conservative people. Sean Hannity is the person I'm talking about right now. In a recent article, I'll have the link down below. He talks about how woke society is making this a country full of wimps. And he talks about how he loves seeing a good hockey fight because he mixed it up. You know, he played straight, real hockey, and there were scraps. Donniebrooks, you know, he mixed it up. Oh, God. And I see people like this, the tie-wearing middle-aged frat boys talking, and it just makes me cringe. People that have been through, experienced real, first of all, violence is not any kind of indicator of manliness. And I shouldn't even have to say that, And anybody that comes across like Tucker Carlson spewing this nonsense, it makes the people that have been through real violence, have lived real violence, that know what it's really about, just the animalistic, how terrible it is, pointless, terrible, brutal. And when you see somebody like this, usually it's always the people that glorify it, that, it's a rite of passage, manly, makes America great, mixing it up. Let me tell you about a little about my background. I wonder if Tucker Carlson is missing all of his teeth, or gotten his nose broken, or broken knuckles, broken arms, stitches. I could go on and on. I don't think Tucker or Sean Hannity is too much, or Tucker Carlson is too many of those from his little Donniebrooks there on the hockey ring. And it just nauseates me when I see conservative people, when they try to portray manliness as violence. Violence, first of all, let me say this, that kind of violence, real violence, is terrible and ugly and brutal. The violence I saw and I dealt with, let me tell you guys, I've had at least 50 fights in my life, at least. I remember staying in all through elementary school and having to write on the board 100 times, 200 times, I will not fight on school property. I never looked for a fight, but I was a tall guy, and I was quiet, and I was a little overweight too, and I became the object of bullies. Then I moved after my father died, I moved closer into the city, and I lost weight, and I had to fight every day, or people would just take all my stuff and rob me. It happened. I remember losing my ice skates, and I had to fight for them. As a matter of fact, I wonder if that ever happened to Sean Hannity, that he actually had to fight for his ice skates before he got to the pond, because I did. And then through my 20 plus years of substance abuse, and this is nothing I brag about. I don't like talking about this. I'll tell you guys about the fights I lost, just to make a point that I lost a good 50% of them. I got no pleasure or joy in winning. You know what winning a fight really means? It's not like hockey, like Sean Hannity thinks. When you win, that means the other person is not present on the ground, is not conscious. It's a pile of bleeding flesh, missing teeth, and worse, the smell of blood, and worse, and that's winning. I never felt good about walking away. I honestly felt better losing. I got this kind of perverse joy out of being hit by 2 or 3 different guys and going down and getting back up and bleeding and just not stopping, and seeing the look on, eventually there'd be a look on the guy's face, the couple of guys that they're like, is this guy's just not going to stop. What are we going to have to do? And it's this look of fear, this realization that I'm not going to stop. And I used to really like that. There's no glory. There's no manliness in violence at all. And when I see somebody like Sean Hannity, you know, painting this picture of woke people being wimps. Let me just tell you this one story. I went to Syracuse University. I was probably about 19. I went to visit a friend there. And we were in the dorm rooms. We'd been out all night drinking and using substances. And I had started, there was an obviously a feminine gay guy that was a friend of my friend on that floor. And he went out with us for a night. And I got into conversations with him. I liked him. He was a good dude. He liked a lot of good music. He was small. You know, he was clearly a gay. And we got into the conversation in the corner, you know, after indulging in substances that will make you talk. And he told me all about growing up with an alcoholic father that did terrible things to him and his mother, and the violence. And I could tell that this guy had a lot of seething rage underneath, you know. And I felt bad for him. But as the night went on, we went to another room on this floor. And I can't say why we went there, but we went there. And two of the guys in that room started picking on the gay guy. And before I knew it, he grabbed a lava lamp and demolished. I actually got physically sick when I saw what this guy did. I was just in shocked disbelief. Now, this was a 120-pound wimp. You know, what Sean Hannity would consider a wimp. This is something, you know, I learned you never judge. You know, just to say that because somebody's woke or liberal or whatever, that they're wimps, it's a big mistake. I know one of these guys had to get their earlobe sewed back on after picking on this wimp, this gay guy. And you know, yeah, I learned not to underestimate anybody ever. So a lot of people you don't know. You know, this is why there's no glory in this in fighting, like Sean Hannity seems to portray here. The real fighting, like I said, I during my substance use, I would nightly I'd go to bars, and then after we go to after hours clubs that were owned by motorcycle clubs, and I cannot say the name of any of them. That's a big no-no, and not the numbers either. One of the clubs was named after the white guys in Star Wars with the Empire guys, Storm. And yeah, it was what you thought it was. And that was one of the clubs. And nightly, you'd see awful acts of violence, you know, in the parking lot, and 3 a.m. And this was nothing like Sean Hannity likes to talk about on his show. About mixing it up after some hockey on the local pond. There's nobody there to break up these fights. These fights are to the end, and that means somebody being unconscious or worse. So when I see people like Sean Hannity, bragging about loving to watch hockey fights, talking about wimpy people, talking about liberals and Democrats, it makes me cringe. It just makes it's so transparent. The people that know themselves, that are self-confident, that's manly. An aura of self-confidence where you don't have to tell anybody anything. You don't brag. It's an aura of having been through it and more than that, having learned the lesson of not wanting to go back there and doing whatever it takes to not go back to violence. Because there is no winner. Believe me. Walking away from a real fight in the street is, I didn't consider it winning. I didn't get any joy. I didn't, I didn't feel like celebrating. Leaving somebody in a heaping pile of broken bones and teeth and blood in the street. There was nothing to celebrate about that, at least for me. So, I just wanted to talk about that. Sean Hannity and his conservative manliness and how transparent it is. All right, you guys have a good Saturday. I'll be back later with another video.